of our Voices of Partner series, Why I Give. So, every act of giving begins with a story. What makes today's conversation especially meaningful is that each of our speakers has built an extraordinary professional life and then has chosen to extend that leadership into philanthropy, using their platforms and their expertise to create social impact in ways that reflect their values. We are really honored to be joined by three remarkable change makers whose philanthropic journeys each reflect a different facet of giving. So today with us, we have Füsun Eczacıbaşı. She's an architect, an art collector, and the co-founder of Saha Association. Saha Association's work demonstrates how cultural philanthropy can expand humanity, foster dialogue across communities, and transform the global presence of contemporary art from Turkey to the world. We also have with us Gamze Ateş, who's my colleague at TPF, also a board member. She's a she wore many hats as a business career woman executive, but now as a social entrepreneur, she's the founder of My Beachy Side, whose approach to giving is rooted in empowerment, bridging knowledge, opportunity, and action for women artisans and refugee women seeking stability, dignity, and economic independence. And last but not least, we have Hakkı Akbulak, who's the president and CEO of Okta, which started off as a family company and became a global brand in design. His philanthropic story reflects community, trust, and belonging. Through both his business leadership and his longstanding support of TPF, he contributes to initiatives that uplift youth, strengthen cultural ties, and reinforce the importance of giving back as a shared responsibility. So together, we're going to explore the many different ways we can contribute to shaping a more hopeful future together. So let's begin. And I'm going to toss the ball immediately to Füsun. So Füsun, geçmiş olsun. I hope you're feeling better after your eye procedure. But you're looking wonderful as always. Thank you for making the time to be with us. And I do hope you recover very, very quickly.
Thank you. It is not by choice, but yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm very honored and glad that we are together in this room today.
Thanks, so let me just share with you this quick question. So you're the co-founder and chair of Saha. Your philanthropic work through Saha reflects a deep commitment to culture and the arts as a catalyst for humanity, dialogue, and transformation. How did your journey lead you towards this form of giving? And what have you learned about the power of art to connect communities and create meaningful change?
My commitment to philanthropy in the arts, in fact, did not start with a strategic thinking or for legacy purpose, but it started with an unease. Yeah, I'm sure for many of us in this room, art is always been a language, a form of understanding each other, and of a form of communication and connect across the borders. But lack of our artists, our community in the international world, in the international art ecosystem, was a big, unease in me growing every day. And art is something that, even politics or diplomacy cannot address, fail in addressing, but art keeps it going. Art keeps us understand each other. I always give, for instance, Picasso's Guernica as an example. Nothing, no history book could depict horrors of war as well as Guernica. And there has been many historic books, but what we read does not impact us that much than seeing it in an artwork. At least it is for me. And throughout the years, when I traveled around the art world and I was more and more involved with different organizations in all over the world, and I sensed that this is a very troublesome pattern. Voices from Turkey was always often missing. Maybe by chance it was there, but absent from the rooms where cultural dialogue was. And so we began asking who is in that room and who is not and why. And also, as always, Atatürk's amazing quote, a community deprived of art is as if one of its vital arteries has been severed, is so true in my belief. So thankfully, I was not alone with this unease. And there were a few core friends who were also troubled with this. And Turkey has a very vibrant art scene. We have galleries, we have wonderful museums, we have, artists, and we have art fair. We have a biennial which draws an international attention.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, the biennial is visited every 2 years. People come to Istanbul, come and see our artists, but then for 2 years, nothing else. And also there is no public funding, government funding for the artists to participate in the international exhibitions. So we asked ourselves, if the capacity exists, but access does not, what shall we do? So over time, our mindset, instead of complaining and instead of asking why we are not included in that dialogue, we began asking, what can we build together? How can we find a solution? Because I believe Turkey's cultural story is not only rooted in its past glory, but today there's still a story that we can communicate, we can be involved with the rest of the world. And we recognize that this is it is not a one-off problem, it's a structural problem. So structural problem needs a structural solution. And this is how Saha was founded in 2011. And from the beginning, our mission was support artists, curators, art writers for their production and for their inclusion in the international cultural
Arena.
networks, and strengthen their conditions and to help them for their artistic production and research, and build long-term relationships and networks for them to benefit. And it was to ensure the contemporary thinkers and art makers from Turkey take part in shaping the cultural scene of today, in the world, not in our, just in that small world. So it was not from a place of nationalistic
Mhm.
issue, but it was from a sense of responsibility. It was a sense of belonging. So that's how we started, and that's
Kristen,
how.
this is so elegant the way you explained it. And my takeaway is threefold, right? The first one is your own conviction that art is a really critical tool for cultural diplomacy and dialogue, right? So we need to have a voice. Art
Yeah,
is this tool for cultural diplomacy and dialogue. And the second part was that you didn't do it alone. You
no,
invited friends.
no,
So
it is
you were able to
possible.
mobilize more people to come together and really think through the problem. And then the third thing was actually, I think, growth mindset versus fixed mindset. You said, hey, instead of complaining, trying to find blaming somebody, trying to feel hopeless, trying to feel powerless, we said, hey, let's just identify the problem
Yeah, instead of whining.
instead of whining, review our alternative approaches. Let's pick one, test it, try it, do it, learn, do it
Yeah,
better. So
yeah.
you really turned it into a very entrepreneurial growth mindset. I think that makes all the difference in the world. So, and I think that that's true for all types of social leadership, right? It's like you identify a problem, and instead of complaining about it, you try to do something about it, and you mobilize the resources, the people, all the resources, the expertise around it. And you really epitomize that with your initiative with Saha. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for the work that
Thank
you're
you.
doing and for your leadership in that role.
Thank you. It's such a great motivation hearing you.
Yeah, it's really
Thank you.
wonderful. I'm going to jump over to Gamza now because Gamza also has a really interesting story. Gamza, you had this huge successful career as an executive in lots of different corporations. And then you turned to social entrepreneurship and became a social entrepreneur yourself with My Beachy Side. And then you designed it in such a way as a vehicle for empowerment, supporting women artisans and also providing pathways for stability for refugees and other displaced women who are rebuilding their lives. So, what experiences shaped your commitment to this kind of giving? And how did your entrepreneurial path fuel your philanthropic vision to date?
Thank you, Didem. I think the short answer was soul searching. I think when you reach to a certain age, and I've been living in United States for 36 years now. I'm not going to say which year I arrived because then my age will be revealed. But in that 36 years, as you said, I wore many hats. I was an entrepreneur. I sold my company to a very big company. I worked for a very big company for 12 years, managed 82 countries. Great satisfaction in some woman's career. But time comes and you start saying, okay, what's next? And at that conjunction, I think I met TPF. I was the board member at TPF. And I wanted to really connect with Turkey after all those years living abroad. And TPF was my first soul searching, and I was a board member, but I wanted to be on the field, and I was visiting all the nonprofits that we work with and visiting, and really I got my hands dirty. Like I was going to places, I was going into Syrian refugee camps, visiting a lot of organization that woman kind of, and then the need was obvious. And what touched my heart was the woman, woman who doesn't have a formal education, woman who doesn't have access to job because they don't have the education to have the workforce take them in. So I think the idea came, okay, I'm a businesswoman. I know how to create a brand. I know what to do, what those women can do. They are amazing, talented, artisanal women. So I said, okay, why don't I create a brand, fashion brand? And those women makes, the clothing, we sell it, we make a global brand, and let's employ as many women as we can. As of today, we are not employing, but we're giving job to over 1,200 women. We are in 4 cities. We have our offices, I would say workshops, Diyarbakır, Elazığ, Bayburt, and in Istanbul, even in inner cities are. So what we do is in the last 10 years, we created a global brand. It's a very well-known in its own niche, a fashion brand called My Beachy Side. The name is little, catchy for the obvious reason, because we're little activists, we're all women. The brand is represented all over the world, globally, all the fancy names, the Saks Fifth Avenues, Neiman Marcus's, you will go to Dubai or you will go to Italy, Capri, Mykonos, you'll find those beautiful pieces made all by our women. So idea was to really cultivate the local economy, give job to women by taking the woman in the labor force, because to me, we always talk about the pay gap and how we can, also it's for Turkey. So how Turkey in those areas can have a little bit of our touch. We're not curing cancer. We're just giving job to 1,200 women, right? But I think it's a big seed, because on the later questions, we can talk about how we can touch the next generation through women who can send their daughters to school. Who is the domestic violence victims doesn't get beaten up anymore because they bring money home. So husband stops beating them. Or she's a retired teacher, but the financials doesn't, have them have the extras that they want to have. That's maybe the, one dinner that they want to put on the table. Or like she's been dreaming to buy that carpet that she never bought since she got married. With this job, she can buy that carpet. So we have many layers of socioeconomics that works with us, and some of them comes just for socializing, because their husband doesn't allow them to work outside of the house. This way they can socialize. Our workshops are all giving that opportunities to those women. So going back to your question, what shaped my journey was to give back, soul searching and connecting. And it was a selfish reason. I wanted to make myself worthy of doing something good. But I have to say, this is a model that I wanted to create, that, that's why I think I was an entrepreneur. Now I add the social entrepreneur to it. What is social entrepreneur, right? Actually, we are out there trying to make the world better but it should be for profit, not for nonprofit, to keep the sustainability and longevity of that, approach. So the idea is that now we have 1,200 women, but the idea is to make this 10,000 women, 20,000 women. So this model could work in any other country. We can move that to Africa. We can move that to anywhere. So, and also we have many other things that I don't want to bore you. It has a sustainability element. Nothing is, we have a very less carbon footprint. And in fashion being the, textile, I should say, the third leading poisoning sector for the environment. So we're trying to be educating also the sector on the other end, that these kind of practices will make the world better. Women will make the world better. And this is in our own little world. We're trying to make a difference. This is where I stand. And my journey started by soul searching, I should say.
Yeah. You said something really, really special. And what you said was that it was selfish. And I'm going to kind of rephrase that and massage that a little bit. It's so amazing whenever we have these Why I Give seminars or webinars that everybody says that, it seems like it's altruistic and you're giving, but actually you're also really fulfilling this desire to contribute to something bigger and more meaningful. So it ends up being so mutually rewarding, right? Not only are you uplifting a community, but you're also uplifting your own sense of self-effectuation and your role in the world. It's such an interesting twist when you think of philanthropy in that way and how it's also self-effectuation.
Very well
And
said.
your story is so interesting. It started with soul searching because you wanted to be doing something meaningful at this stage in your career. It continued with, what am I really good at? What talent and opportunities are underserved or underutilized, underleveraged resources do I see? How can I put them together? And then you added the layer of not only like ethical fashion or ethical, moda, diyeceğim, ethical fashion and sustainable fashion, but you're also keeping track of the multiplier effect that community is creating. So when you said that the women is bringing more income to the household, so the stress level of the household is decreasing, or the opportunities for their children for more education is increasing, or the community bond and the friendship and camaraderie and the sense of empowerment um, and support that they feel from being part of a community is increasing. So you've created all these tangible and intangible and sustainable and scalable efforts based on your own expertise that you've leveraged so elegantly. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing, Gamze. I can't wait to hear how that story also unfolds and expands around the world. And then let's come to Hakkabay. Hakkabay, it's such a pleasure to meet with you. I really enjoyed our conversations before and also today. I'm so impressed with Akdo's story as a family business that is crossing the ocean and has become a really respected brand in the global design community. Your story reflects craftsmanship, family, honoring cultural heritage while doing business, right, in the business world. But then over the years, you've also become a dedicated supporter of initiatives through TPF. You're one of our most admired, let's say, donors, active donors in our own TPF community. How did your business and life experiences shape your values around giving? So why is this so important to you? And when did philanthropy start becoming a meaningful part of your identity? And why did you pick the themes of community and youth empowerment for your own philanthropic journey?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you and for having me. And to be honest with you, I have never done it before, and I have never asked myself this question. And it was quite interesting for me. I just kind of tried to stand in front of the mirror and asking myself, why do you do that? What is the purpose of it? What is the behind it? And when I think about it, I just maybe took a different approach and asked myself the question, why is that, and what made me act the way how I'm acting right now? And then the simplest way for me explaining is that because we are all human beings, and after we are born, there are three things which are very influential or which shape our values, our personality, identity. And I just came to the conclusion it's your parents, it's your school, and then your friends you hang out with. And parents provide a first model of behavior and morality. You can say schools shape your intellectual growth and social skills. And the friends, depending on who you hang out with, they can ruin your life or they can, so challenge your identity or, during this formative years. So, and I have to say that I grew up in a very conservative family. So on the first day on, we were told that you got to help. You got to help where help is needed. You got to help, especially, I mean, my mom was told us when you see elderly people carrying their shopping bags, go take them, help these people, whoever they are. Or it came to a point that with the people who were living very close to us, I was running their errands. They were giving me the money. Why don't they go there? So basically, after a while it becomes a part of you, you just don't think about it. Why do I do that? It's like breathing. It's like, I don't know, it's just sleeping. It just extension of your personality. It just ingrained. It's just, I cannot explain it in a way better. But over the time it really became a natural part of me. And I don't think twice about helping. I just step in. And but then, at the time evolves, as you get older, I started my business. And before that, I used to work for KPMG and in Germany. And I don't know, I don't want to get into that deeply, but the relationship between Germans and Turks were not that great. And that I learned two things there, which were also very crucial in shaping my personality, like what discrimination means and how awful it can have an impact on somebody's identity or the mindset, and also the development in a psychological way. And the other thing was that was on a negative, and the positive thing, what I learned in German was the human dignity. That human dignity is untouchable. And in a very simple way, obviously living there, I have lived there 14 years, and I was in hospital. As we all know, there were a lot of Turks. And after I saw how these Turkish patients were treated by the Germans in a very positive way, Mr. Ahmed, Mr. Please take a place. We will. And then I had made the same experience in a Turkish hospital, just telling them, just get out of here, sit there, we will call you. Okay. So these are kind of things that I will never forget. It became very apparent to me that human dignity is very, very important in somebody's life, to respect it, and also having good values, having universal good value, which have universal validity, is very something very important. Because if you have this exposure in different countries, basically my approach has been always, I had my filters. I said, okay, do's and don'ts. This is a very something good that you got to make it part of yourself, like something very simple like being punctual. And back then, when I was a young man, because I think Turks were lacking that kind of being punctual, So this is a very simple example. But after I started ACTO, I came to the realization that every human matters. Every human, whether regardless of their age, regardless of their heritage. So, and I just thought myself with my brother, if I say, because I want to everybody know that I started this with my brother, the story, I don't want to get into that. I said, okay, I want to have happy people around me because I want to be happy. If you see miserable people around you, I personally cannot feel great about it. So I said, okay, what are the two main important things in the life of a human being? And I said to myself, as a businessman, this is the access to healthcare, and also investing in their career and development. So those are, for me, the two main things. It can only be done, obviously, by investing money. It's not like that, you just pray to God every day and hoping that these things fall on your lap. So you take a hit there because you know that you spend more money on the health insurance, you spend more money in their education, because it mattered to me. It was to me what an extension of what I believe, my values, because I otherwise, seriously, maybe you can say because of I was selfish. I just want to keep myself happy. So I always tell the people, they ask me, how many hours do you sleep? I said, I sleep 7, 8 years. How come? I said, when I put my head down, I have a clean conscience. I don't, I don't have to think that, okay, I screwed this guy, and I made more money by doing this. And I mean, I take it as a joke, but it's really, really a result of fight that every human being, the way how I look at it, every good evil and the good things in that. So I had to fight with the evil on a daily basis based on the experiences I had in my life, even though for a certain period of time, for a short period of time, you can achieve things that which are unthinkable by cheating, but then you pay a price for that. I am a firm believer of that. So, and then next step for me was I said, okay, I have to, because I saw that given this opportunity, given this push, that kind of transformed the kids of these families. So I saw these kids growing up. They having access to universities, graduating from the universities. I was going and, you know, and witnessing that with my own lives. And I was probably at that moment the happiest guys in my life. So, and when you see that by helping these people to help their own kids to even achieve a better lifestyle, have access to better education. So that filled me with my heart with joy, to put it in a simple way. So sure, I know everybody can say from a company perspective, yes, as a company, is you're bound by certain rules and regulations, but these are still a wide range of possibilities within that framework. Ultimately, the decision we make, even within those boundaries, are guided by our values and character. So nobody can, because health insurance, it's up to me whether I want to spend $3 per person or whether I want to spend $1 because it's still within those guidelines. So, and to me, I really believe that we gotta empower the youth, because opportunity is the greatest equalizer in my life, So investing in youth prevents future and social inequities. So sometimes these people need a little push to unlock the potential that they have. So these are the things which motivates me a lot. It just I don't know how else I can put it. So at the end of the day, I just said, okay, if you want to be a happy guy, you have to make sure that these people get the dedicated help they need. Obviously, there were days that where I was challenging or I was being challenged. So it's not a hippie. It's not easy to keep this balance because at the end of the day, it's really the money you're investing. It's I'm not saying more money, but I'll try to tell them take a more collaborative approach, say that this is all us. It's not me. This money is not just going in my own pocket, the money we make. So, but looking back, I can say we have done a great job. It's not just me. We have done a great job. I'm just thinking about because I don't remember everything. Even in Turkey, as you know, we are a marble business. We dedicated to a school that they have to have this branch because I believe in education. We can have these little children cutting marble, working in these workshops without knowing what the hell they are doing because you're not investing in their future. From my perspective, you're exploiting your young kids. You can't make them work for hours.
Totally different. Sure.
Exactly. So, and then from there on, I moved to TPF. I said, okay, my impact is limited. I have to because I don't have the time. I don't have the arms or the length of the arms the octopus has like
Huckabee,
TPF.
I'm going to stop you right there because you're actually jumping into our next round of questions. That's where I want to talk about collaboration.
You got to stop me because
well, no, I want to summarize what I heard from you so far that's so rich. One of the key things I heard, of course, again, it resonated with Füsun and then it came from Gamze and now it came from you too, that there was a sense of personal discomfort that you were actually trying to solve and empower yourself, actually. So it was like leveraging your own skills. It's so interesting to me that that's where a lot of philanthropy is born from. It comes from your desire for self-effectuation. But the other thing that I heard loud and clear was that your values and your environmental awareness was started at a very young age as a child. You were learned to, it's not enough to help the elderly woman cross the street carrying her bags. You have to see the elderly woman crossing the street and say she might need help. So that level of awareness in your surroundings was very, very interesting to me. And then the third thing that you said that was interesting was you experienced some type of discrimination or you saw it be discrimination. So you saw something negative happening, but you also saw people helping each other, supporting each other. So you saw something positive happening. I think the two strongest motivations for philanthropy is either a negative experience that you want to prevent or a positive experience that you want to expand. And that you actually talked about both of those things, which I think is fascinating, that those are your kind of impetus for being able to move forward. And then you looked for levers of change for dignity. That's access to healthcare, career and vocational development and education, that are also, you're absolutely right, are tools for universal validity, actually. So that's really wonderful. In the sake of time, I'm going to combine our second and third questions because I do want to talk about the difference between individual efforts versus collective efforts and what you think about longevity and legacy. So could we combine those two questions actually in our next round? And I'll throw the ball back to Gamze and we'll go through, I'm sorry, I'm going to throw the ball back to Füsun and then we'll go through again. But what does it, you mentioned that you brought people together. So what's the difference between individual philanthropy, collective action, collaboration across organizations, and what does that mean for legacy or longevity?
First, I want to start with Hakkı Bey.
Yes.
I'm a first-hand observer of his generosity. About 6 years ago, without knowing him and without knowing his brother Erdoğan Bey, I asked their help for an artist project in Venice Biennale, who was participating the main exhibition. And without questioning, they immediately jumped in and they helped us to realize that project because they provided all the marble needed for that. So
how beautiful.
yeah. So we collaborated in the past.
Very nice.
At least there is an example of that and the strength that brought. Yeah, Didem, from the beginning, we were just 9 people around the table, and it took us just one meeting. And we knew that Saha had to belong to the field, not to us, not me. Further than that, not to those 9 of us, and not to individual founders. Because as Hakkı Bey also said, our impact is limited. But if we are together, the impact is much more than the 2 plus 2 is not 4. It is much, much more in that case. So, and also we built Saha so that it is a horizontal, transparent organization and with an arm's length structure to the people who benefits from them. So we tried to make a very ethical model that they don't owe us anything. For that very reason, we refrained to be in the decision-making process. So we are not making the decision which artists we are going to support. Art professionals are deciding. So they don't owe us anything at all. And they just, the organization, let's say a Venice Biennial curator is going to invite an artist. We first invite the curator to Istanbul, and for their research, we provide their ticket, accommodation, whatever help they need for their research. And then whenever they want to invite anyone from us, from our country, and we say, okay, here is whatever he needs for the production, we provide that. That means it's not us who is making the decision, but the art professionals are making the decision. And it's not only us, also our supporters. So it is a very transparent organization, so that when you refrain from that position, it becomes such a trustworthy organization, because it's a, it might be a gray zone whom you support and whom you don't. And something very powerful happened because of that. When we stepped back, the community stepped forward.
Love it.
Exactly. And now we have more than 100 members. People have joined not because of who we are, but because of what we are building together. And also, when you build a community through a shared mission, it's not only financial support. That community also supports in a, with moral. So
sure, emotional, humanistic,
yes,
everything.
Exactly,
sure.
emotional. They visit their studios, they go to their talks, they go to their exhibitions, and it's
They show up for each other. They show up for each other. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so the impact is in many folds in that sense. And it's not only among, in another layer to that, as you said, it is also other organizations. Now, Saha, in a world where cultural funding is diminishing every single day because of the world's political environment and everything, and it is very, very fragile, the community-driven organizations and non-hierarchical platforms like us is so much appreciated. And we built many partnerships, and additionally, many of them took us as a role model. And they ask us how we built that. They ask us how we fundraise. And many of them, there are many organizations who became our brothers and sisters. And collaboration with like-minded institutions, of course, and partnerships with them is having much more effect, much more impact. So like TPF is also a community-driven organization, and I'm sure TPF is also, making collaborations, partnerships with like-minded institutions. I hope one day we can also do that, because collective intention builds collective structure.
It just weaves everything together, sure.
Yeah, and those structures build
Are stronger,
a
sure.
bigger impact. And I chant it all the time. Galliano's quote: "I don't believe in charity. I believe in solidarity. Charity is vertical. Solidarity is horizontal." This is our motto.
Love it.
And we really wholeheartedly believe in that. And solidarity, of course, becomes meaningful when many shoulders carry it. That's the only way. So your third question is legacy.
Yeah, so I actually think that they tie together, because if you have that collective action, then that's kind of the secret to sustainability and longevity and continuity and legacy, right? Because then it can carry through the generations as well.
But, I have some sort of an allergy to legacy because it's often misunderstood.
Okay.
And it is understood as recognition, self-centered, and, not everyone understands it that way, but it has a sensitive edge to it.
True.
And we believe in building something that outlives us, but it's not about our legacy. It's not about, visibility for ourselves, or it is about opportunity for others. So the legacy for us is structures that endure time, and networks that we could strengthen over time and grow, and the opportunities that we are able to create for the art community, for the next generation, and their voices to be heard and them to be in those rooms. And it is all about the field, not one organization. It's the whole ecosystem, not the founders or the members. We have supported so far hundreds of artists, over 650 in 52 different countries. It's all over. And it has a really a global presence, which makes us very honored.
Wonderful.
To be
I mean,
able to do that.
There's so many quotable things that you've just shared with us. Well, the first and foremost is that this initiative was not ego-driven, it was mission-driven, right? So it started with an agenda, not egos, which ties back into actually how you position your relationship, not charity, but solidarity. It's not about, giving to people who need help. You're really empowering, enabling an ecosystem And
Exactly.
it's about building together and co-creating. So when you said when you stepped forward, the community when you stepped back, the community stepped forward. Very quotable. I think that that was really, really elegant. And then, of course, your definition of legacy, something that outlives us, but not in recognition of us, but something that outlives us, is also very elegantly nuanced. It's a beautiful definition of
May I
longevity.
add a few projects, a
Of
few
course.
recent projects as an example? For
Sure.
instance, over the years, although we have supported so many artists and they have a presence all over, but we realized that recently
Mhm.
curators do not. And the curators are in the decision-making position.
Mhm.
And we have curators, but not in the senior positions.
Interesting.
So, and they didn't, gain any visibility or inclusion. So we started a 3-year senior curator position in Hamburger Bahnhof. It's one of the best contemporary art museums in Germany, in Berlin. And last September, a woman curator started there. She went over 100 curators applied for the job. And she is the one who was selected by the museum directors.
Wonderful.
And also now we are going to start another one in New York, in the new museum. There will be a
Perfect.
2-year position for a curator from Turkey, and who
Perfect.
will the new museum is opening now with the 2 very significant buildings. The second one is done by Rem Koolhaas, so it will be the talk of the town soon. And there will be a curator. The announcement is not made yet. They will announce soon for the applications. And it's not only institutional experience or networks that a career could be transformed. Its impact goes beyond that curator. Its impact goes beyond it. Embeds new perspectives, not to the curator only, also to the museum, also to the art community in New York and other institutions. It will open doors for artists from Turkey. It's not that one person's position will open so many doors and build
For so many
bridges
people,
between
sure.
Turkey and the United States. That kind of legacy, we believe, that is, a bridge that many can cross,
Yes.
and a structure that evolves by time. Maybe I talk too much.
No, I
I
love it.
don't
I'm just thinking like there are all these like philosophies that you're coming up with that actually need to be codified. They're brilliant. I mean, the whole idea of creating these connectors, elevating these position people into the ecosystem so that they can create these connections and harness that potential, right? The role model effect. There are just so many theories actually in your thinking that are very elegant. Thank you so much. I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
decide, I'm going to review this again, and maybe we can come up with a blog post to talk about the whole webinar. It's going to be very interesting. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Fusen, for such interesting and elegant thinking.
Thank you.
Gamze, shall we continue with you? I mean, the question really was, the difference between personal action versus collective or collaborative action, and this concept of legacy, longevity, sustainability. How are you approaching those two things, and how are you
I'm
bridging that?
gonna, relate to what we did. Like, for example, TPF, not as a board member. It's like in the beginning I was a board member. Then
Mhm.
after like 8 years, I came back. It's like a family community, especially
Mhm.
diaspora people. We kind of find our echo chamber in TPF.
Sure.
But in through my experience, everything happened in earthquake. Just to be more solid examples, and then during earthquake, all my offices were, I had an office in workshop in Kahramanmaraş.
Mm.
So I was here in Istanbul. The next day, I was supposed to be in Diyarbakir, and then 5 o'clock in the morning, I realized that so I couldn't reach my offices because nobody was alive. So I
Oh
lost
my
60
goodness.
women in Kahramanmaraş. And then, of course, in that, everybody,
Başınız
not to
yeah.
get like emotional about it, more pragmatic solution was like, okay, I have TPF. I have a family arm that I can just like cultivate this relationship. And I have every tool that I can create, not just personal giving, but I can cultivate my community in New York to be part of that, joint effort to help. So that was like comes handy. When you say community, I think TPF gives you every tool, every opportunity to kind of make your giving the way you want to do it. And then the second part, I think in my job now, I found the right partner to give my personal giving instead of just my company. But I wanted to do my giving very strategic because I want to create a longevity in the area that I work with. I was looking for children who needs further education and they cannot do that due to their economical problems. Who I go to TPF. I say, I need a partner. I want to give my personal giving, but I want to make sure that the women that I work with who are already in a financial difficulty, I want their children to get benefit if there are qualified kids in that groups, because I have 1,200 women. So what TPF did, TPF is like, great, we're going to connect you according to your needs, a nonprofit that will work with you. So thanks to TPF, they connect me with PAIDA, who
great organization, sure.
PAIDA, and then PAIDA, what they do is they go and open models. And in Diyarbakir, in Elazığ, they already had existing structure, but with our donation they could do extra modes or modes they call, I guess, like they open another class
modules.
So what happened is I pull myself back because this is not about me. This is about my women getting their hands dirty and going into their community and saying whose kids needs extra help. But it was very important that those kids, because it's not a 1-year help, we take them at middle school and graduate them all the way to universities. So this long-term investment should be that kids want to go to school. Kids has a good academic, trajectory. So thanks to TPF to, matchmaking and put me through the, PAIDA. Now I think talking about legacy, as Füsun said, it's not about my personal legacy. It's about the project that I started. The longevity of that project would be my legacy, not the project will be the legacy if it's long term. So how can I achieve that? I don't want those women's kids to knit and do a crochet anymore. I want them to go to university. I don't want them to live the legacy of their mother. I want them to have a little further, opportunity. And if we can make that as long as possible, this will be the longevity. So every seed becomes a tree. Tree gives fruit. Fruit gives, food to community, and communities are connected. So in my own humble world, I have to say that community is very important. Your partner, you're right, but we cannot do that by yourself. I couldn't go find PAIDA. I couldn't get cultivation with my people. So thanks to TPF for creating that environment for me as a partner. In earthquakes, I'm the first one to call. When I need a partner in the ground, qualify someone really good for me to work with, here comes TPF. And they give you 4 or 5 suggestions. They already have strong relationship with those nonprofits. They're all qualified, they're all screened, they're legit. So I cannot go wrong. So talking about working together and collaboration, in my own hand experience, that was really the case. And I think I can give you 2 strong examples. One was PAIDA, finding and matching us for my personal donations and connecting that to my existing business. So that created the longevity. And then during earthquake, when I was emotional and I had my whole environment in New York, all my friends, we wanted to give, but it's so important. Nobody wants to give it to someone that they don't know, even if it's me that they know. But if I have TPF as someone reputable and with the history of the accomplishments, so I created this fund, and then everybody was someone who know of someone, That's how community works. I think my experience and collaboration can be summarized in that 2 lifetime experience, I guess.
So fascinating. I mean, how community built you enables your resilience as an organization, how collaboration with that community creates co-creation opportunities where you're leveraging each other's skills and aptitudes. How this concept of longevity or legacy or longevity for you, for example, is actually about generational impact, right? So you start with the mothers and then you're trickling down to their families and you're creating this generational impact. And of course, these environments of trust. Füsun, did you want to jump in?
Yes, I want to jump in. Gamze, what you told is so important. During pandemic, I was working with some groups on deep poverty. And what they said, the trash collector's son, the only dream is to have another carrying, those whatever that is called, and just that is the limit of their dreams. Can you imagine? That is to be a trash collector, to be able to collect trash. So what you're saying that that woman who is knitting is now having a dream, and also their kids are dreaming
Dreaming
and
bigger,
becoming,
yeah.
yes, and having developing another life and a better future, dreaming a
And
better future. Without a dream, can you imagine those kids? What could they do? That is so, so, so important.
it's so true, Fisun, what you said, because what you're exposed could be limited to your environment. But when you have that kind of organizations comes into your life, there was one of them were blind kid. So I think she's in middle school, and she needs a tutoring to participate for those things. There was no future for this girl to go to normal school, that do this normal route in Elazığ. So, Paida coming in and giving that girl an education, even though she's blind, she'll go to a higher education. And I think it doesn't end there. As you said, generational,
Yeah,
giving is
trickling down, yeah.
trickling down
Right.
is very important personally for me. Um, I think those girls, as I said, they should not be knitting and they should not be sitting home and getting married at age 18. They should be in college. And I think, again, we have this community that is so great. I think when they finish their college education, those kids, it doesn't matter if it's 1,000, even if it's 100 that finish, I'll be so happy. Then we take them with the other organizations. I'm already in talk with the friends
Mhm.
that they prepare them for interview, they prepare them for job search, they kind of put them in front of the companies, and we use all our network to make till the last drop that we let those girls go and fly, because I don't want that they
So
kind of their
you're also
mothers
talking about compounding, right? It's not just a spot support and then you disappear. You're compounding the support and the empowerment over the years as well.
I hope so. That's
Yeah.
like the dream, and we're on the way. It's not the quantity, it's the quality. I think,
Mhm.
we're not saying that we're gonna send, like 1,000 kids to university or whatever, but I really think that these kids who've seen that path will transfer to their daughters. I think
Mhm.
anyone who gets a little bit of a flavor of being able to give, they will continue to give. As like Hakkı said, he grew up with giving and he grew up with the family and this. And if you have that impacted your life, believe me, you'll be a philanthropist when you
You pay
grow
it forward, exactly. You
pay it
do
forward.
pay it forward in the role model effect, right? Not only do you inspire others to give, but then there's also the people that you've supported because, again, they had a positive experience and they want to pay it forward. So it creates this snowball
It
effect.
creates
There's
a
just
little
so many
snowball.
different layers of
So
of
yeah, we can
catalytic
talk till
behavior.
morning, but I don't want to
Yeah.
steal, stage. But this is
Let's
like
talk
where I
to Hakkı too. Hakkı, how about you in terms of
Okay.
individual versus
Yeah,
collectiveness and longevity? What's
I
your
promise
philosophy?
I want to keep it short because it's
Okay.
already 1:53. See,
Yeah.
obviously the first thing what comes to my mind, I mean, as we all know, yeah, if on a personal level, it just you kind of support causes or people resonate with your values, and this personal motivating is your compass that directs where and how you give. And but in a philanthropic approach, collaborative, collective philanthropy amplifies this impact. So that is, it's as far as the greater the area is concerned, much greater area, larger scale interventions, faster mobilization during crisis. So collaboration basically multiplies impact in ways that individuals are not capable of doing. They cannot do that. So that is for me the biggest difference. So, and I was not able to reach out to what you have at TPF done for me. And obviously it comes with a couple of things like trust and confidence. And so, and when I can only talk for myself, when I think back I was trying to help out each time when there was a natural disaster through Red Cross, or through AmeriCares, but I never felt that I'm a part of the big deal. I never. So TPF changed my mind. They literally, I enjoy it. I know that there I have a trustworthy partner, and they know where to invest, and I know that what we are giving on a much broader scope finds the right address. So, and that helps me also balance my personal purpose with the collective impact. The best balance comes when personal purpose and the collective mission intersect, when they overlap. So then I see that, yeah, great. That's what I was gonna do, but I didn't have the octopus arms and the length of the arms. So that is very fulfilling for me. And also, you know, what TPF allowed me, I met people with a lot of wisdom and experience like yourself, so you learn a lot from these people about collective giving. So that opens another door. That opens for me another layer of satisfaction. I said, look, we're all think alike, like-minded people. And I don't know, it just again fills my, to put it in a simple way, it fills my heart with joy. So that is for me an emotion ethical fulfillment. So on a personal level, if I help a student, it's a personal purpose. But TPF ensures support for hundreds. That's a collective
Action.
impact of it. So
Yeah.
action. So those are the things. So, and for example, another thing, legacy for me, kind of expanding opportunities across generations. That is really, really very important. So, but as I said. We are all human beings. We are limited in our skills and time. But by joining institution like TPF, it opens its doors. And also, we have to, I think, legacy is for strengthening this, as Füsun Hanım said, institution that outlive individuals. That is really, really, really important. So, I mean, I truly believe that you guys are doing a great job, and as long as I can, I will try to support TPF, and because especially now in Turkey with everything what's going on, and I think this help is much needed than ever. That throughout my lifetime, I will turn 73 next year, so I mean, as I said, keep doing the good job, and I will be one of your supporters going
Thank you,
forward.
Hakkı Bey. So you're saying we're amplifying with collective support, collective action, collective giving. We can do faster, we can do broader, we can go deeper because we're leveraging the expertise, the trust, the confidence of that community, and then weaving these tapestries. So
Because
we have
you
a, go
you
ahead.
can change the social norms as opposed to me as a long-standing person, so that is really very impact, because what is happening, then my last sentence, I am widening my circles. Like I start with myself, then I do my company, then I move to the community, then it can be societal, so I can see that, and that is why I joined TPF, and I will, as I said, try to do my going forward to support this
So
purpose.
I did want to do one final lightning round saying, what advice would you offer to someone just beginning their journey? And actually, Hakkı Bey, I think you just summarized it. You said you started personal, then it grew into organizational, and then it went into collaborative giving. Could you give some advice to new philanthropists?
Oh God, sure. So,
Lightning
you
round.
know,
We have like just
yeah,
30
okay,
seconds.
okay. I think the size of thing is not important. That's what I will say. Start with your own values. Maybe you can start small, and then let your values guide you. So try to seek trustworthy partners. You don't have to do it alone. And then get focused. I'm going to support like the ladies, for example, who are in need, the young students. So don't get scattered around. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that at a young age. So on those, and then I think it will take a time until they realize the impact of that. So they got to be patient just to see what results are coming out of it. But at the end of the day, I think if they follow those things, I mean, I cannot say it's I give all the valuable ideas in the entirety, but those are the steps that they can take to understand the value of giving. So because it's mostly driven there with the person's values.
Sure, it's your
Otherwise,
personal
there is no
experience at some point.
exactly,
Sure.
exactly.
That's wonderful, Huckabee. So I'm going in reverse order. I promised I would go in alphabetical order, but let's go in reverse. Gamze, can we get your lightning round advice to somebody beginning?
I'm going to echo Huckabee, but I think it's listen to your heart, find what you're passionate about, what moves you. I don't think it has to be the same. Some could be choosing woman art, as we are all here different. Listen to your heart, be selfish on that one, as I was, and then surround yourself with the community. And I think same mind like people and someone you can trust, like something like TPF. That's my 2 cents.
Perfect. And we started with Fisin, now we're ending with Fisin. Could we also have your 30-second lightning?
I want to add to that wonderful motivation, whatever is moving you and whatever you want to do. But instead of making decisions top down, just ask the community, just ask the field what they need, and structure your organization according to the needs. Do not make the decision about them, that what they need, but make the decision with them, listening to them, and then shape the organization according to the need that they address. That would be my one line, and there would be a list, but this will be the final.
It's so funny. I'm always involved in entrepreneurship and then also in this philanthropy space. And to me, they overlap so much because it's exactly what you just said, right? You have to listen to what the need is from the community and then develop solutions together with them, actually. And that's really the secret
From
success
bottom up.
from the bottom up. And that's the secret sauce of entrepreneurship in general, but also in social leadership and social impact as well. So, dear Fisin, Gamze, and Hakkı, thank you so much for being with us today, for sharing your stories and your reflections in such a sincere way. At Turkish Philanthropy Funds, we believe the desire to give back actually lives in all of us, and sometimes it just needs a moment, a story, or a spark to begin. And if you're feeling inspired to explore your own giving journey, please reach out to www.tpfund.org, me directly, any of our team members. And as the year comes to a close, it's offering us a moment for reflection and hope. We look forward to continuing these conversations in the year ahead. Thank you so much.